Hi, I'm Kalyan Karmakar, and welcome to Foodocracy for Her. Foodocracy for Her is a podcast dedicated to women in the F&B industry, and I've been running this since March 2020, and you should watch it for some fabulous stories, inspiring stories. And today we're going to interview and talk with Chef Ebaani Tiwari. She's part of the husband-wife duo which runs Kari Apla in the suburb of Bandra in Mumbai, her husband being Mathew Varghese. This being a podcast for women, we'll be interviewing on Ebaani. Kari Apla is a small place. It's about a year old, but it's winning many fans among food lovers across the country and even abroad who are coming in. And without my yapping, let's go to Ebaani and get to hear about the Kari Apla story. So we've got Ebaani on board and switch off gender roles. So Matthew is minding the kitchen. Yeah, at Karyapla. And
Yeah.
possible congrats to the both of you. This month is 1 year of Karyapla, yeah?
Yes, 1 year, 1 year.
And it's been a stupendous success because I think everyone I know who's gone and eaten there, including me, just loves the foods. I don't know what's your magic, but welcome on board. So great to have you on.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Yes, and last time spoke with someone who lives 2 lanes down.
Mhm.
So Ibani lives a little bit further, which is 3 lanes down. So it's not nepotism. In fact, recently in the culinary culture list, 7 out of 30 people were from Bandra in the national list. So I think our suburb is rocking. So yeah. So Ivani, the first thing which intrigued me about Karyapla, and we're going to come more into the concept and the name, is that Matthew sort of represents the Kerala,
Yeah.
Syrian Kerala sort of background. Though he's a
Mhm.
Calcutta boy,
Yeah.
and you are supposed to represent Maharashtrian food, Goan food, but
Yeah.
but your surname is Tiwari. So
Yeah.
tell me a bit about your background in food and your growing up memories of food
So
influences.
it's a bit of a hodgepodge. It's very confusing actually. But my dad is a Tiwari, but he's a Tiwari who also like grew up in Bengal.
Oh,
And his parents eventually retired and moved to Pune. So um food has always been influenced like that. And my great grandparents from my dad's side were from Andhra Pradesh, so they had a lot of rasam rice growing up. So I mean, it's a complete hodgepodge on that side. And then from my mom's side of the family, there's like Maharashtrian and Goan influences. And by Goan, it's primarily Karwari, which is
okay.
where my granddad was from. So,
Hmm.
it's a complete mix of everything. And then, as the family, because, Indian families are so big. So everybody's, got some kind of, someone's married into a Tamilian household, someone's married into a Andhraite family or anything like that. And there's so much mix of food, at any family gathering. So there's, it's never boring, any of these family meals. And that's just what we wanted to do with Kari Apla because it's food from all our homes and it's also food that we've grown up eating and traveling.
Hmm.
So, and Matthew brings the entire Malayali side in.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So now tell me, and also you live in Mumbai where
Yeah. And,
there's so
and,
many
and I grew
cultures
up
and you
here.
must have,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is in Mumbai the core Maharashtrian food, the vegetarian food, Malwani food, whatever's available in the city. We don't really have Savji, Kolhapuri that much and all that, but
No,
it's
not
not
as
really
much. Yeah.
and it's not really that well known. I mean, slowly it's getting discovered, and also with Chaitanya Aswad getting a bit more aggressive. But I think it's more like home sort of influences, right? For you.
For us, yeah, like a lot of the recipes itself are things like that my grandmom has been making. And, we've just like made it a little more restaurant friendly.
Yeah. And also what I found, I mean, just to make the point about Goa, and you said Karwari food. is that to a lot of us from outside, Goan food means sopatel, vindaloo,
Yeah,
Goan sausage fry, which is the Catholic side. And with time, I've realized that it's more like actually a minority in terms of. I mean, there's so much more to Goan food.
Goan
So
food,
what is
absolutely.
Karwari food about?
So Karwari food is also very similar to Goan food in the sense that, I mean, it Karwar was a part of Goa until it
Hmm,
went to, it
Karnataka.
became a part of Karnataka. So the food is very similar to what, a Goan like the Hindu Goan
Hindu
food.
Goan food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost the same thing. The only difference is, like in a Goan, maybe in the Catholic fish curry, they won't use kokum, or they won't
Hmm,
use
hmm.
it's
Yeah,
very simply, it must be just some ingredients that are
yeah,
different,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the taste and the preparation is very similar and very rustic.
In fact, there's so many nuances which
Yeah,
one doesn't know. Where did your desire to cook come from? I mean, who were your influences when you first start cooking?
I started cooking in school. I started very young. I was only allowed to cook under supervision at that point
Yeah,
of time,
yeah,
so I
flame and all of that. Yeah.
I was only
How,
allowed to
how
use the
old were you then?
microwave.
How old were
uh
you then?
I first got permission to use the microwave, and that was also not when I was alone at home. So I think I was in the fourth or the fifth grade when I was
Okay.
allowed to use the microwave with supervision to make basic stuff like Maggie, like nothing else.
But yeah,
And
everyone started with Maggie.
then I started baking because we
Hmm,
had a nice oven in the house. And my mom used to bake cakes, and they used to do a lot of, toasts and pizza.
hmm.
And so, the old school, the bread with like the ketchup
Yeah, yeah,
and all that.
yeah,
So we used to have a
yeah.
lot of that.
Amul cheese
And
and yeah. Capsicum.
and yeah, no capsicum for me. I detest it. But yeah, so those kind of things. So we used to
Hmm,
have an oven. So my mom would let me bake, but she would have to
hmm,
be in the home at that point of time. And then I started making more stuff. And then in school we used to have an elective, in ICSE,
hmm.
and we had something called cookery at
Ah,
that point of time.
not
And
not
obviously,
home science. Not
no
home.
cookery. This was
Okay.
just food.
Okay.
And I obviously wanted to do it, and everybody was very worried that, because it's not a very high scoring subject,
Yeah.
because it's
Oh.
a lot of theory and practical.
Hmm.
And everybody was like, what is wrong with you? Like, my class teacher called my mom and told her that, listen, I think you need to talk to her because she's contemplating doing this and it's not going to give her good marks.
Hmm.
And then they tried talking sense into me.
So you
I
were a good student otherwise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
good girl, good
yeah, yeah,
marks.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This, I think, this was my only rebellion. And they were just very concerned that how is she going to do this. There's, because you're like ninth and 10th standard, you're like, oh my god, marks, marks, marks. And
Yeah, yeah. Tell me
uh
about it.
so they were all very worried, and I was very adamant because I didn't like any of the other subjects. I was like, listen, one subject let me do that I like. So I went ahead with it. I did extremely well.
Oh.
And I don't think anybody scored more than me, at least for a very long time. I don't know if the marks have been increased since then, but I did
Yeah.
very well. That's my only flex. I didn't get high marks in, I didn't get the topping marks in anything else, but that was very good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was just very clear that I wanted to do something related to food.
Hmm.
And then I was toying with the idea of, writing and food, or, doing hotel management. And then I thought, let's just do this because it's the cooking part that
Hmm.
always excites me more.
In fact, in the kitchen, I've seen you're the quieter one. Like you're more in the kitchen while Matthew's in the kitchen and also very like
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
loves. Yeah. So now what happened next in your cooking journey?
So
Uh,
I finished my 12th grade, and then I went to catering college in Dadar.
hmm.
And then you do your nice 3-year course. And once I was done with the thing with hotel management is when you join, like majority of us feel like we're going to go into the kitchen, and then
Hmm.
you do your industrial training in a 5-star in your second year. And then a lot of people say that, okay, this is
Too
not
hard.
going to be my cup of tea. I can't do this for my
Too
entire life.
hard.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so by the time you join and by the time you graduate, there's a lot of change in
Hmm.
what people decide to do. But I was very clear. So I went ahead with that only. I sat for all the interviews and stuff. But then I wanted to study a little bit more because we didn't unfortunately get to specialize in our batch.
So you didn't do the
So
5-year course. There's also a
no,
5-year
no.
course, right? So you did, because you did after your 12th. Yes.
Yeah.
I think the 5-year course
So
is
the so the specialization course is something only few colleges offer currently. So at that time we didn't get it. So I wanted to do a little more in-depth studying. So I went to Le Cordon Bleu in London and did a 10-month course there. And then I did both cuisine, which was your savory and hot food, and I did pastry as well.
Okay.
And then I came back and I started working.
And then you decided savory is more your side.
I was always more into cooking rather than baking and pastry. But my dad was very adamant that, listen, you're going, you might as well do both, because once you start working, you're not going to get the time to study that much. So I was again, I needed some convincing on that. I was like, I don't want to do pastry.
some negotiation can happen.
He's saying if you're going, you do both, otherwise you don't go. I said, fine, I'll do it.
So where all did you work after that?
So after I moved back, I applied to a bunch of places, and then the only place that actually got back to me was Chef Kelvin and Chef Boo at Bastion when they had just opened in 2016. And I mean, the Bastion then was very different because it only had dinner and they used to do brunch on Sundays.
Yeah, and very difficult to get reservations.
That was a mad busy kitchen.
Yeah.
So
I particularly remember, like, first of all, we got it very difficult to get a reservation. And one dish which sticks in my mind, and you'll remember, perhaps, is that there was a Himalayan trout.
Yeah.
No?
With that butter sauce, yes.
Yeah. And we were just, so different, and we just loved it.
The food was so different, and I think it was the first of its kind in Bombay at that time. And, he got in a lot of fusion, and, Chef Boo had his Korean American and a lot of, Mexican influences also, because Chef Boo's family had some Mexican, I don't know, I mean, relatives, and they used to eat a lot of Mexican food, and he used to make some insanely good Mexican food for us, just like that sometimes. And then Chef Kelvin obviously had his Chinese heritage, and, like so much good food on both sides. And they just made it more fun, and it wasn't like your typical Asian restaurant. Like, there was so much like what you're talking about, the trout, like that technique with the butter sauce was a very French thing, but with like Asian ingredients, and it was very different. And I guess that's why it also worked so well, because they were doing things that nobody was doing at that point of time.
And so that was great to be a part of a kitchen like that.
Yeah, and we used to change our menu so often. Like on a Friday, they've like told us that, okay, Sunday menu has this much new stuff, and those things are not happening. So now you have to prep.
And there were some cool desserts also, right?
Yeah, so we used to
they were quite popular for the desserts.
They used to keep changing their cheesecakes also, and they were so good.
Yeah.
So it was a great place for a first job because of all these things. You got to do so much different stuff. And they were very, like if you ever went to them and said, chef, I saw the school recipe, go try it. They give you full freedom, which I think was very good, because a lot of places, you're just doing the same routine. So this
in fact, a lot of chefs whom I've interviewed, they all started in 5-star kitchens, like people like Chef Niyati, and a lot of them, started with 5-star kitchens, which are more like constrained.
Yeah, they're very set.
I mean, it has its, advantage in terms of teaching the classics and all that.
Yeah.
But, and you did go to 5-star places,
yeah. So
right,
after Bastion, I went to a 5-star. So I was working with, I was working with the Taj in Santa Cruz. So I was in
the new Taj. You were part of the. You must have been part of the early days then.
I think it was a year in when I joined. And so I was there, and I was working in the coffee shop, in the the continental kitchen, as they call it. So I was working in that section, and a coffee shop is also very different operation, teaches you a lot. And I used to do night shifts.
And it's 24-hour coffee shops are 24
hours. So we would do night shifts that time. And you would be put in charge of that entire shift, because it would be like skeleton staffing. And in the night there are not that many orders, but there's a lot of work because you're prepping for for breakfast.
Breakfast.
And your breakfast buffet in hotels is like there's nothing
Mad.
short of
Yeah.
400, 500 people at a
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
you're cooking for that many people, and
And
things.
so many stations, such
Yeah,
variety.
so much variety. It's like it's not even like there's only two things on the menu. There's at least 15 to 20 hot dishes at a time. So that's also a lot of work that you have to do through the night. And that's actually where I started picking up some Indian food, because there would be one South Indian cook during the night shift, and he was also new, so he also needed some help at one point of time. So then I started helping him make medu vadas, and we would be making idlis to help him so that he would be ready to set up his buffet on time. So actually I started cooking Indian food or learning some kind of Indian food there. Otherwise, it's just the stuff you will probably make at home. And all your parathas and your puris, and how they would make puris in batches and keep and just fried on order and all that stuff. You only picked up. So hotels are great for all these things as well.
Yeah.
And then after I finished that, I went back to Boo Chef when he opened Dirty Buns, and then went back to Bastion. And that time I went back in an R&D role, because he was handling more than 2 restaurants at that point of time. So he needed someone to do R&D for like all of them together. So that's what I was doing. And then I was there till COVID actually. And then once the lockdown started, I was freelancing for a bit, and then I got married, and then Mathew was in Gurgaon at Cormorant, so I moved there.
So
then
how
I was
did you meet
freelancing. We met when he was working at Lands, and when I was doing my industrial training.
Okay. Oh, you did the industrial training.
Yeah.
So who was the executive chef? Was it Chef Anirudh at that time, the executive chef, or it was after his time?
No, he was there. He was there when I was interning. Yeah,
I don't know if you got to interact with him, but
very nice, little bit,
very thorough and very well-read chef.
Yeah.
He's being very kind.
Yeah, Chef Roy was at that time.
We used to get along pretty well. So now, when did you guys, because I believe that Matthew's also, like, he was with Cormorant, which was part of the chef Manish Mehrotra's at that time. And he's also worked in 5 stars, right?
So mainly his career was 5 stars. And he had his background in French and European food.
So what I'm saying is that both of you have worked in like either 5 stars or big brands. And with that, there comes a certain, I mean, pressures are very high, but there's also a certain stability and the badge and all of that. So what made you guys decide to leave that and set up something of your own? It just seems like such a big risk. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. It was a risk. It still is a risk.
No, but what made you sort of do it?
It was just this. See, honestly, this was something that was in our plan, but it was not something we wanted to do at this particular time. It was something more along the 5-year, 6-year line that we had thought and kept. But things change, and we were in Gurgaon. We wanted to move back to Bombay also, because my parents are here, and he studied here. He had a circle of friends and stuff. So we had some kind of like a base in Bombay, and we thought we should move back to at least one city where your folks are.
Yeah.
And Bombay just made more sense. And then he also wanted to, we were considering doing something along the lines of starting Kari Apla, because this menu was something that we made through the lockdown to keep ourselves sane. So we used to use
this podcast started during the lockdown to keep myself sane. Yeah.
So we used to just brainstorm and like over Skype, and we used to sit with one Google sheet and just sit and keep adding things that we thought were tasty and we would love to see on a menu somewhere. And it was just that. So when we decided to move back, we said, you want to should we just do it now? We are young, we have time, we have energy, because I mean, we're not that old, but we're still very tired. So like now in retrospect, we're like, my God, had we done this 10 years later, we would have not been able to handle it. it's a young person's game. They're running around like
Yeah,
this.
yes and no, because you also have Chef Nuresha, who at the age of 40 went
Yeah, my
to
God,
Tokyo.
it's
You know,
mad
and learned how
respect.
to do Japanese
Yeah,
cooking,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she's created
So,
Izumi again in
yeah, yeah,
Bangalore.
yeah,
We've
absolutely.
spoken to her as well. So, but it must have been very difficult, right? Because both of you don't really come from like from big family money as much as I understand. You guys are
Uh,
doing it by yourselves.
yeah, yeah,
So,
which is why we wanted to start small. We didn't want
uh,
to bite off more than we could chew.
so how
And
what are the challenges you faced? You know, and you
I,
opened it in Bandra, which is like
yeah,
expensive
honestly,
real estate.
yeah,
Right?
my folks live in Versova in Andheri.
Uh,
And we wanted to actually start that side of town. So when we started looking, we were looking that side. And then very soon we realized that, okay, that place is not, there aren't that many options that we like. So we expanded the radius. And 2 months and we realized that the real estate prices are the same everywhere.
True. Everywhere is expensive.
Yeah, everywhere is expensive. So then
Yes.
we
Yeah.
so then we said that then why are we just looking here? We might as well look in Bandra and Khar as well. So then we
Hmm.
started looking this side, and the inventory is very limited right now because
Yeah.
so many buildings are going for redevelopment.
And all coming up with
So
huge flats, like
and
four
yeah,
rooms, five
and
rooms.
then
It's
so
like
like the
crazy.
yeah, so the building that we're in also right now is an older building, which is why the shops are a little smaller. Otherwise,
Hmm.
all the newer shops that are coming, like we saw one very nice place that we liked in Andheri, but that was like 2 floors and some 1,000 square feet on each floor. And we said, how do you do this? Like, this is, I mean, they
Yeah.
were ready to reduce rent also, but
Hmm.
we were just like, how do you keep a place this big full all the
What are you
time?
doing? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very tough.
Hmm.
So we said that, maybe let's start small and you can always go grow and
Hmm.
get bigger. And I think our biggest challenge was just finding a place. It took us 4 months and a lot of deals that, went right till the moment you give a token and then you realize something is not right and, you have to
Hmm.
step away.
So will you get the money back
And
or no?
one place we didn't, the others we
Oh,
didn't give the token after that because
acha.
that thankfully, I mean not thankfully, but that incident happened right in the beginning. So after that we did a lot of background checks before we gave
Hmm.
our tokens.
But I guess this place was waiting for you because it's Touchwood being such a lucky place for you. It's such a warm place
Yeah.
because when I've gone there, I've seen that you guys have this open kitchen and young chefs over there. And like I jokingly said, open kitchen means that you can't really like shout and snarl at them.
Oh, but that's true.
Not that I can imagine you guys, both of you, shouting at people. But sometimes, things just happen at the right time. Or even our apartment, it was way above our budget, but we went for it, and now, and we found our cats because of that. And yeah, so you found this place, and I remember that, in fact, you guys were telling me that you were not getting anyone who could design such a small space into a kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually a bit challenging as well because so all the references we got for all your kitchen planners and designers, they're all used to working with big spaces. So they do hotels, they do, your chain restaurants, and they have like a lot of space to play with.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
doing something in such a small area, it's a little tough. So one of the meetings we went with the layout of the space, this one old uncle was the proprietor of that business, and he just looks at our layout and he says, "This will not work. You'll go find another place."
The design person, the
Yeah,
design agency.
the man who had the company that designs your kitchen
Uh,
and
hmm.
manufactures all the equipment for it, and that's what he
Hmm.
told us. He said, "This will not work. Go find another place." They're saying, "But uncle, we don't have the budget, so you have to tell us."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that obviously he couldn't do it, so it didn't work.
yeah, yeah.
And then finally, we sat and Matthew was sitting and referencing on Instagram about, cities that have similar problems like Bombay, like New York
Tokyo,
and London and Tokyo, and
hmm.
how they use
Hong
all these,
Kong. Yeah,
yeah, all these
yeah.
small restaurants and how they do seating and how they manage everything efficiently. So we were then finally sending it to our kitchen consultants
Hmm.
and we were showing them reels and we were showing them like this is how we should do it. So we were very involved in that as well because we felt like, see, we're going to be in the kitchen,
Hmm.
so it has to be practical for us also to work
Yeah,
you know
yeah. And actually, like, I mean, what you guys did sort of represents the spirit of Bandra because, I mean, I came in when I started working. We got married 2 or 3 years into our work life, and it's really about taking a small space and making it work for you, whether it's the kitchen or whether it's the apartment you live in. I remember our first rented apartment, the kitchen was actually the balcony,
Oh
and both
yeah,
of us couldn't like
yeah,
stand beside each other, you know, and so we had to stand in a line. The
yeah.
second one was like a 1 BHK converted into two. So I mean, that's I think that's what makes I think drives the creativity and makes you know it's really all about passion.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see this coming back because in between, Bandra had become a place for some of the bigger places, but it's great to see that young folks with a dream are sort of. So talking of dream, tell me a bit about Kari Apla and what does Kari Apla stand for?
So it actually means it's a pun. So Kari Apla, when you say it, it's the way they say curry leaf in Malayalam.
Ah, okay,
And that was one of those ingredients that was
that's generic
widely
for South.
used. Yeah, widely used for all the cuisines that we were covering,
Hmm.
you know. And also it like apla is ours in Marathi. So then it also worked like that. And it was just something, one name that, even coming up with a name was such a task. And this was something that Matthew just thought randomly one day and came and told me that, oh, I like this. What do you think? And I said, yeah, let's go for it. And then we had so many names that we went through and we kept submitting. And,
Uh,
they have to get approved before you can get it.
this is the registry, the
Yeah. And there were so many names. And finally, this one was the only one that came through. We were like, okay, this is what it was meant to be then.
first time lucky, and
Yeah.
it's nice because it sort of rolls off your tongue. It's slightly different, again familiar.
Hmm.
I think everything's like you guys have hit the lucky spot. I mean, which was sort of waiting for you. Now, so the menu you guys had some idea of because of your brainstorming, but uh, what went into bringing it to real life? Because like when you worked in kitchens, everything was set, and you
Hmm.
guys were following things, and you're part of a. And suddenly, you are the guys who got to create. So you've created a name, you've created a space. Now, how did the food start happening? The staff, and suddenly you are the boss people.
Yeah. We were also learning as we go,
Huh.
because,
Hmm.
um, I mean, in my previous job also, if there was any hiring and stuff, I would only have to take their trial.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to make all the decisions regarding, pay and salary and, job responsibilities and all that. My only job was to see them go through a trial and then maybe say, yeah, chef, you should go ahead and hire, or maybe not.
Hmm.
And, all that was new for us as well. So we sent out feelers to our college. We sent out feelers to the YMCA, the YWCA, because they all have all these vocational courses as
Hmm.
well now.
Hmm.
So we got some CVs. So we hired some from YWCA. We hired, actually, I think most of our team is from our college only, all our juniors.
I see.
And yeah, and one who's now our sous chef, one boy is someone who I had worked with at Dirty Buns as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so we go back and, I understand his way of working and all that. So, it's been a journey because when we started, we didn't really get it's difficult, because even kids nowadays, I mean, as they should be, they will want to, everybody might not want to take a chance with a startup,
Hmm.
because it's
Hmm.
their career as well. And I completely understand that. So it was a little bit difficult for us also in the beginning to find the right staff. But I mean, most of them have stuck around for more than a year now, as long as we've been open. And it's been good because they've also learned a lot. And we finally reached that situation where our kitchen is okay now and we're staffed properly. Otherwise, like
That's
last,
quite
yeah,
self-effacing of you to say, given that such great food, and which means that their bosses are just almost their age. So,
yeah, we're a very young team.
huh,
So
huh.
I mean, I think our oldest, not even employee, I mean, Mathew is the oldest. And
Yeah.
I think it's him and then me, and then everybody's just like
How does a
2, 3 years.
husband-wife dynamic work out? Because often in like companies, like there are these rules that husband-wife can't work in the same company, and here you guys
Mhm.
have your own company. So, like, do you take your
I
fights
mean,
from home into the
for
kitchen to home?
no, not really. I mean, for me also it was okay because my parents also work together,
Okay.
and they have their own company. So, I mean, I saw them through my entire childhood and as I was growing up that they were working together. So it was fine for me. I didn't really think it was that worrisome. But, a lot of friends came up to us and said that, how will you all work together and all that? But I mean, it's okay. We tend to agree on all the things that matter.
Yeah.
And, obviously there are some opinions that you may differ on, but it's fine. I mean,
Hmm.
you do what is best.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's all that matters.
So now tell me, tell me a bit about like Kari Apla. What is the sort of food which you do? Because I know that a lot of it also goes into your sourcing and this thing. So, is it like modern Indian? Is it food which you can recognize? Is it comfort food? Is it
I
Instagrammable food?
I think
What is it that you're trying to present?
I can't call it one, but everything that you said, I think it fits under all those categories slightly.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
wouldn't say we're not a modern Indian restaurant. Like we don't do fine dining. We're more
Hmm, hmm.
we're sort of more casual
Is that a
and
plan long run to do fine dining or
not
uh,
not particularly. We're not
uh,
we like this kind of style where the
hmm.
flavor is what reminds you of home or something familiar that you've eaten. And it might not be presented in the same way. It might be paired with something that's a little different, like those parotas that we have.
Yeah, with the pork curry
Yeah, with the
and and
pork.
and 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 with the scallion, right? That parota.
Yeah, so those are
And very
actually,
soon after that,
yeah.
I actually went to a sort of modern South Indian place, and over there, a very experienced chef, and he also had a parota with stuff stuffed into it, and this is like a big invention or whatever. But I mean, yours was so much better, and I had yours a week before that.
So
Yeah.
ours is not even, I'm not going to say it's authentic and it's our invention. I
It
thought that
it tastes good. Yeah.
ours was inspired with the Chinese scallion pancake that I used to
Oh,
make
yeah.
at that. I mean, we didn't put it on the menu there either, but it was just something that we had tried out at one point of time, and I thought it was so tasty.
It was. Yeah.
And then we just thought, why not do that with a parota,
Yeah.
with a richer dough that you use,
Yeah. Or
and
like
which
the pork, you were saying that, for example, in the belly, you make sure that there has to be like a fair amount of
amount
fat in
of
it.
fat, yeah.
Yeah, you guys put in a lot of thought into sourcing, it seems.
Yeah. So it again, like, sourcing ingredients also took us a little bit of time to find the right fit. And I
Hmm.
think that's pretty normal because, you need to know the quality you want. And, even
And it's
things
all
like,
local, right? I mean,
yeah,
from
everything is local.
Bombay or like at the,
Yeah.
or
Like all our
imported.
seafood also, no, it's not. I think the only thing we use imported is our avocado.
Sorry, by imported, yeah, the avocado salsa, yeah,
Yeah, the
thecha,
avocado tetsa.
thecha.
Only the
No, sorry,
avocado is imported.
no, sorry, by imported, what I meant was like brought in maybe from the southern markets or Goa, like,
Yeah, so like stuff
the,
like the passion fruit and
huh, huh,
the spices and that
huh,
the
huh,
puli that we use for the
yeah.
fish, all that stuff comes from Kerala
And your
because
fish comes from local markets like
our
Har and
fish
all
comes
that?
from Sasundok.
So I said, oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
so someone goes to shop it or you have
No,
a,
no, no. We have someone there who runs a
uh,
business of seafood.
and he knows
And
what
yeah,
you
he
want
sends.
and,
So he's also actually a second generation. And, he runs this business that was actually, I think he's an engineer by profession,
oh,
which
wow.
he's left and he's started doing this and he's taken the reins over from from his parents or his family, I think. But very efficient, I mean, and he's very knowledgeable also. So we can always ask him, like, does this work? And will this be possible? Will this be in season? What is it like? And he'll have an
So,
answer to
so he's
everything.
like you guys, like age-wise or background-wise, like
No,
like
I
not
don't.
not a traditional fisher person, like more like someone like you can
Yeah,
relate to, talk
he
to.
was
Yeah.
I think he was working in Gurgaon in one MNC at one point of
Okay,
time.
okay. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he left that and came back to Bombay to help with the business. And now he's running it by himself, and I think he's doing very well because he supplies to a lot of like very famous restaurants now.
No, and I think that's very
And
interesting because
yeah,
Mumbai has a lot of local seafood places and they have their suppliers and stuff. But with the young gen coming in, like you guys, um, it's probably easier to have people who understand you just as they had. Now, I mean, there've been friends whom have said that you should go to Kari Apla, and it's like it's just good food. But if I was to sort of describe and say that okay, this is what Kari Apla is, what should I say? I mean, what would you guys describe yourselves as?
I think
Like, what can a person expect when they go into Kari Apla?
they should definitely expect a very tasty meal. That's for sure.
That's what matters
And
the most, right? I mean, everything
I
else
think like
is, yeah,
what's most important for us is if people come back.
yeah, yeah.
And luckily we've had a lot. Like I think most of our clientele is all repeat customers. So
Or they've
that's
come
something,
through a word of mouth, which
or
I
through
think is
word
a
of
great
mouth.
thing.
And
Yeah.
that's something that is also something that has taken us a much longer time, compared to um, a lot of other options where you can just make a big splash when you open, and then everybody makes it when you open, but our process takes a little bit longer because people are coming in organically.
But I think that that's a longer, more
Yeah,
enduring, strategy. I mean, not strategy. I think it's
yeah.
just a mark of a really good place, yeah. But philosophy aside, like, what sort of food can one? Tasty food, okay.
Tasty,
Can we
comforting.
narrow down? And can we narrow tasty and comfortable down a bit more? Like,
I think it's mainly I think it's things that are nostalgic,
hmm.
and it should remind you of something that you've eaten in your past, and
But
you know
but
but
uh,
just
but some of it, a lot of it might not be the past of the diner. Like for example, the dessert which you have of coffee ice cream with like a sort of tea cake sort of thing,
yeah,
which is Matthew's like railway memories.
yeah.
While for me, my railway memories are, the chicken curry in the Mumbai Howrah rail, or
Hmm.
or the tomato soup. So it's not my specific memory, right? So how will the connection happen, right? Because that's Ebaani or Matthew's memory. So why do you feel that that works for us? Like, what do you think is the secret of your success now that you've spent a year? If you look back, what do you think
I
works
I
for you
think it's
guys?
just very honest, and there's no, it's honestly flavor is king.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think that's why, and lots of people have, I mean, since you mentioned the banana cake, lots of people have asked us that. And the Keralites, they really resonate with that dish because they all had that at some point of their life. Like that particular combination is something that I think, if not 100%, at least 98 or 99% of them have had and have
Tell us a
enjoyed.
bit about that dish because we are talking
So,
and everyone's wondering like, what are they talking about?
so
Have they gone bananas?
that's the banana cake, and it's served with a filter coffee ice cream on top, and it's got one crunchy brown sugar streusel. So the inspiration behind that is, I mean, I can't say that because it's in Malayalam, but it's that banana fritter essentially, and the filter coffee that you get at your railway stations and
Mhm.
any stall basically,
So
and
the
it's a
equivalent
snack.
of chai in the north and east railway
Yeah,
stations,
it's like
the
maybe
chai
like a
is.
bread pakoda and chai
Hmm.
equivalent, but
Hmm.
a sweeter one.
Hmm.
And this is something that Matthew used to enjoy a lot during his train journeys growing up and traveling through Kerala. And it's just something that we thought would make a great dessert because the combination is very nice. It's just that it's not seen anywhere else. And a lot of people are very confused by it. And then we just tell them, like, trust us, just try it. I mean,
Yeah,
you'll
yeah. I mean,
understand. And
backstory is fine, but do
yeah,
you enjoy it? Is and it's so
yeah,
come. And
that's
what dish on the menu represents Ibani the most?
uh I think I would have to pick two actually. That
Okay, yeah.
avocado thetsa would be one, and the prawn curry, the Karwari prawn curry, which is
Oh, yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah.
which is
Yeah.
my mom's recipe.
Huh.
And now ever since we put it on the menu, I haven't bugged her to make it for me.
But has
But
she tried it? Has she tried it?
oh yeah, yeah.
She approves?
Before I put it on the menu, I got her and my grandmom to taste it, and only after they said yes, I put it on the menu.
So, is there
So
any contemporary tweak you did to that to make it more
so the way they,
millennial Gen Z sort of
yeah, I mean, not
something?
millennial Gen Z, it's just the way that they
Or
make
the
it at home.
modern eating
Yeah,
audience, dining
just
audience?
the process, because the way they make it at home is like they'll make again, it's a rustic preparation, so everything is blended together, and then
Hmm.
thoda tadka laga ke prawns
Hmm.
dala, dhakkan mara, and it's cooked. That's it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So because we can't cook it like that on order, and it takes a
Hmm.
bit of time, so we have to make it as a curry paste, and then on a order add your coconut and your prawn and everything. So the process is different, so it took us also 2 3 tries to get it right. But yeah, the taste has to be the same. That's the only thing.
So you actually, in a sense, put it together on order, because if you go to a lot of traditional places, they keep it ready, which is fine. I mean, that's how it's had at home also, and sometimes that kalchi curry,
Yeah,
the previous day's curry and all that. But you've actually come out with a process where you make it,
yeah.
and sometimes if the diners are sitting by the kitchen, they can actually see it.
See it being made.
I
Yeah, yeah.
remember being fascinated seeing that paratha, and your chef was so into making that paratha. But tell me about avocado tesa, because avocado is of course very Bandra, but tesa, if I see, is a very Maharashtrian
Yeah.
punchy sort of pesto, right? Made with
Oh, it's
chilies.
so good. Yeah. So we used to have one lady who used to come and cook in the house at one point of time, and she used to make the most incredible theza. So it was just, I mean, my father and I used to just like polish it off. She used to
Just
have to
explain the dish to people who are listening. What is tesa?
so theza is basically like, it's like a pesto, but it's a very spicy version, and it's made like your basic ingredients that you have to call it a theza is green chili and garlic.
And
And
what do you have it with? Is it like a certain thing to keep on the side
yeah,
when
so I
you're
mean, a very classic way to eat it would be like with bhakri. And it's just
rice
something
rotis
that,
and
yeah, which you eat with bhakri. It's just something you dip in and eat. It's a very travel friendly dish that, it's something that keeps well, so it goes in tiffins and stuff also.
so how did the
And
marriage of thecha and avocado happen?
Theta and avocado was just something we were noodling around with, and
Huh.
we wanted to do something with avocado because
Hmm.
again, Bandra.
Yeah, yeah.
And
For all the jokes I make on avocado, I love it, and now I've actually started making decent stuff at home. I mean, avocado toast and all that, but yeah.
then we just we wanted to do something like the guacamole, but we didn't want to do a guacamole.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's why when you eat it, it's served very similarly with your tomatoes and a little bit of radish and some fresh herbs, and then we do serve it with a Sindhi papad actually.
And which is also
And
locally sourced, right?
yeah, which is locally
Shop to
sourced as
table,
well.
shop to
Yeah.
table.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
From Khar Market, close by.
Yeah,
Yeah, from the Sindhi shops,
yeah, from the Sindhi
grocery
store.
shops.
Yeah,
Yeah. So how has that taken off? The
the avocados are very
uh,
well, very
yeah,
well, very
but
well.
I remember when I was eating it, you asked me about spice levels. So you check
Yeah,
with people
so
because
we do,
uh,
because a lot of people have been taken unaware by how spicy it can be.
yeah,
So we
yeah.
always ask if they're good with spice, and if they say yeah, yeah, then
Hmm,
we make it the way it should be made.
hmm.
Otherwise, we'll
So
tone it
again,
down
it's
a
made
little.
on the spot. Again,
Yeah,
it's made on the spot.
yeah, because the theta has to be made fresh, and avocado will oxidize and stuff,
Yeah,
so it
become
has to
damaged.
be
Yeah,
mashed fresh.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so one sort of last question, which is I'm going to ask you for some words of advice, and you guys have completed a year. So there'll be so many people like you who have dreams of opening restaurants, but they feel very intimidated by the idea of, like, the space, converting the space into this thing, whether they'll get customers and all of that. And I'm sure you would have had so many more questions because you were in that space. So, what is your, Vishesh Tippani? Yeah.
Vishesh, see, the thing is that this business is, it's a tough one,
Hmm,
and you just have to keep at it.
hmm,
And I think most important is like maybe just staying positive and trying your best. I mean, this is very vague advice, but I really think this is the
yeah,
best advice
true.
because there are days when, like in the monsoons this year, this was our first monsoon, and we had like water coming in from everywhere.
Oh gosh.
And, you know, footfall does reduce a lot in the rains because people don't want to step out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
completely normal.
Hmm.
And, there would be days when it wouldn't be as busy as it usually is. And we just be wondering, you like go down that spiral of self-doubt, like, what have I
Hmm.
done? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, have I made a mistake? And then 2 days later, it'll be packed and you don't have time to breathe. And you're like, okay, no, it's fine. I just had to like, so basically you just have to do your best and make sure that nobody goes back upset with the food.
Hmm.
And I don't think there's anything else that honestly matters as long as the food is great.
And you make it sound a bit easy, but I know it's not this thing.
Oh no,
So,
it's not. It's
how
not.
how do you keep yourself positive, or how do you bounce back? Because now we are finally sort of awakening to the fact of mental health, and all of this is mental health. I mean, it doesn't have to be like something dramatic. So,
I mean,
what can keep on going? Is like one of the things people tell me is that very being very clear about what you want to do. But
yeah.
again, that's the end thing. But the nitty-gritties of what keeps you going, both
Uh,
of you actually.
I mean, we try to be as positive about it. But there are days that, you feel
Hmm,
down and you feel upset because it's not gone the way you wanted it to.
hmm.
And I think it's just you have to just power through, and every day is different. And I think also just having a support system who you can
Yeah,
talk to really
yeah,
helps.
I think, yeah,
And we've been very fortunate with that.
yeah.
And there's always a lot of great comedy stuff to watch on Netflix
Yes,
to put your
yes,
troubles away, I think.
yes, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So everybody like handles things differently, but I just feel like these work,
for you.
yeah, for
And
us.
and
Yeah.
what next? Are you guys already sort of thinking about level two, or
Oh, yeah.
it's more
Yeah.
about consolidation at this point?
That's already, we're already talking about it and figuring it out. But we
Yeah.
do want to move to a bigger space,
Hmm,
because we've
hmm,
realized that 20 seats is, I mean, there are limitations to such a small place as well.
hmm.
And we've also been told that the food that we serve has needs alcohol, and it would be very
Yeah.
beer friendly. So now
Right
we're
now
looking,
you've got cappuccino and espresso and macchiato.
yeah, now we're doing coffees, but
Yeah,
we've been
yeah.
told that you all need to serve alcohol as well. And that's true, because when people want to celebrate and when people want to,
Hmm.
have a dinner with alcohol, that's where sometimes we fall
Yeah,
short.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so that's our plan next, where we want to
Hmm,
move to a slightly bigger place, not super big,
hmm.
but where we also have the option of serving beer, or so some alcohol to start with.
So, yeah, great. So thanks, Ivani, for sharing your story, and please give my regards to Matthew.
I will. Thank you
But
so
just tell him
much.
that I tried thinking of many angles, but he just didn't qualify for a Fudukasi Paha. But and congrats again on a year, and keep
Thank you so
smiling,
much.
keep staying positive, and guys, Kari Apla is in Bandra in Mumbai. They're open through the day, right? Lunch till
No,
dinner.
so
Oh,
on
you've changed that?
yeah, we have. So Saturday, Sundays we're open all day from 12 to 11. And Tuesdays we're open just for dinner, and Wednesdays to Fridays we're open for lunch and then for dinner. We take a little bit
Okay.
of break in the
Hmm.
afternoon for the team to prep.
Yeah.
And
And by seeing Ibani, you've I think got a feel of what sort of vibe and warmth and cheerfulness you can expect over there. And the food is indeed tasty. So one can intellectualize about this school, that school, whatever, but it's great food. And you guys also do deliveries, right? I mean, in
yeah,
the
we do deliver
yeah,
on Swiggy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So great. Wish you all the best. Hope
Thank you so
to
much.
get a chance to speak to you on many milestone anniversaries, and thanks for taking the time out for talking to. We need to talk to you for a long time, and great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'll come over for some banana cake to celebrate.
Yeah,
And
and the
even if we don't
parota.
have, yeah, so even if we don't have coffee liqueur, we'll do with the filter coffee ice cream
Yeah.
for now. Yes. Okay. Take care. Keep smiling.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.